Hello, Aries, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you're having a great day. This will be your weekly reading for the week of May 25th through the 31st. And during that time, we'll have a new moon that comes in on the 27th. And of course, that's a good time for a fresh start, new beginnings, time to learn something new or start new work or to make new decisions. We then move into the waxing crescent, which is just kind of the amplification of that energy. So time to have some heightened senses, really kind of buckle down, get things going, kind of, make adjustments on your plans, but just kind of continue on with that new work in a heightened manner. This will be an intuitive general reading for the energies that you may or may not encounter this week, Aries. So, of course, please keep that in mind. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't for someone else. All right, your overall message for this reading, Aries: the end of a tough cycle approaches. All right, let's see what the Aries Collective has going on for the week. As I'm shuffling, I would like to say that since my readings are free to you, all that I ask in return is that you hit that subscribe button. It really helps my channel. It's super easy for you to do, so I'll give you just a moment while I'm shuffling to do that right now. Thank you so much. And if you've been a subscriber, thank you for coming back and helping me build a community here. I really do appreciate that. All right, we'll get right into it today. Aries, May 25th through 31st. The end of a tough cycle approaches. All right, your overall energy for this reading is lots of choices here. So if you're coming to the end of a tough cycle, you're at a place where, there's lots of decisions to be made. And these could be emotional decisions. This is a card of cups. So, and it's like your heart's in in it, trying to figure out exactly, what to do, what things to choose, how you want to move forward and in which manner. But I will tell you that having all those choices, to me, that feels, I always see that this is a card of luxury. It's a luxury to have choices. So keep that in mind and choose well. Your current situation is the Six of Cups. So interesting. Lots of cups showing up here with the 6 and 7 right off the bat. So the Six of Cups is, this is really about enjoying the moment. This can be a card of kind of nostalgia and thinking about your past and, maybe, childhood things or things that when you were younger. So this might be involved in some of your choices there that, that maybe those thoughts and feelings are coming up. There may be some things from your past like that you need to confront as you're making these choices, and maybe it makes you put you kind of in an energy where it is hard for you to make decisions because of something from your past. So that might be something that some of you need to take a look at. At the root of your situation is the Three of Wands. So we're definitely thinking about new ventures as this cycle ends for you. So yeah, you're thinking about new ventures, new things that are coming up, but let's make sure that we're getting things wrapped up and making these final decisions on situations that you've had going on, this past cycle. Even though that's kind of on your mind and thinking about new ventures, make sure that you're just putting the lid on things, things in the cycle that you've been in, even though it might be a little harder than usual, again, if you're having to make a lot of choices and do things. But it's at the root of your situation that you are looking forward. So you're wanting to wrap things up, but make sure just take a breath and make sure that you're wrapping things up in a clean manner. Make sure that all your T's are crossed and I's are dotted, that sort of thing. In your recent past is the Empress. So it could be that this is, that whatever has been going on for you, it's come to maybe its full term. Our Empress is the card of pregnancy, and that can be actual pregnancy, but it can also be, the pregnancy of things and ideas. And if she's here in your past, it could be that, yeah, this is the end of a cycle. It's maybe something that a project that you gave birth to months ago that has now come to fruition. You're at the end, you're tying up those loose ends, you're thinking about the future already. But again, let's make sure that we're wrapping the old cycle things up before we start off on that new cycle. And the new moon is the time for new cycles and new things to happen. But I just get the feeling with all of these choices and everything and this card with it, that it is about, did you learn something through this past cycle? It was so tough, but was there something that you learned so that you don't have to go through that again? What is on your mind this week is the Judgment card. So this could be you making judgments about something, you coming to some sort of truth about something. Again, if this is a tough cycle, and this is, like I said, did you learn something? Did you make a judgment? Did you decide that, because this is about like a new awareness that comes upon us, that you've made a judgment about a thing, and you make, those are the decisions that move you forward in a more positive way, so that so that you're not making the same mistakes again. So it looks like there's some kind of judgment on your mind, through this tough cycle. And it could be, yeah, I don't want to do, let's say you went down one particular path with a past choice that you've made, and you just make a decision, I'm not doing that again. So that's just how we learned, and that's okay. What is just ahead of you this week is the Death card. So this is the end of a tough cycle. So you're definitely just wrapping something up here. This is as you march forward. Death comes for everything, even cycles and even ways of being. So there could just be something that you're putting to rest. Some of you, and again, it could have something to do with your childhood. It could be something that you just learned that that you didn't realize was related to your childhood. And this could be just a way, and let's say there's no pentacles on the table, but let's say, for example, this is that you learn a lesson about money, and you don't realize until this particular cycle or this thing happens to you, that the way you deal with money starts at the root of it is in your childhood somewhere. So it's that kind of thing where you're like, oh, well, I'm not going to do that again now that I understand where that root is. And that's that alchemy, that spiritual alchemy that we do, to go back in time and realize, where that first wound is, and how we're carrying it through each of our cycles through our life. And it's kind of, healing those things up. And that's definitely a death of that, because you've healed it, you're letting it go, and you're moving on in a positive manner. In your advice position, speaking of pentacles, is the Six of Pentacles. So I always ask the person that I'm reading for, when you see this card, do you see yourself in this giving position, or do you see yourself in this receiving position? Because this is, to me, a card of both. This is a card of being in a place where you're able to give, or being in a place where you are also able to receive. That can be, in fact, the receiving end of it can be harder for some people. And this doesn't necessarily have to be in a monetary or a material way, although of course it can. But your advice is to definitely get in the position that you see yourself in the most right now. Are you in a place where you're able to give, either financially or of your time or energy, when it comes to the material world? Or are you more in a place of just really needing to receive and needing that from the world around you? And decide where you are and sit comfortably. The advice is to be comfortable with wherever you sit in this card. We've got these scales of judgment right here as well. Excuse me. And don't, you know if you have an open and giving heart, you're not judging someone that you're giving help to, right? And if you're in the place where you need to receive help, don't feel like you're being judged because of that. We're all in each of these positions throughout different times of our life. So, the advice is to really just embrace, if you're in the giving place, embrace that. If you're in the receiving place, embrace that as well. What is beyond your control this week? More pentacles. So buckling down, being hard at work. I would say this is definitely being in the moment of trying to finish up this tough cycle. And again, this could be, it could come into where it's a monetary thing or something with your material world, but it looks like you're just hard at work, really focused in, and buckling down and getting things accomplished. Secret desire, what you're trying to avoid, is the Nine of Swords. So it might be that you're trying to avoid sleepless nights and and stressing over all of this. Again, I'll go back to, this card here of all of these choices. Are you stressing about those choices? And make the right choice. That's all that you can really do. I'm starting to look at some numerological things that are popping out at me here too. And that we do have a couple of sixes, 7, 8. Yeah. But yeah, if you're it's I'm sure you're trying to avoid having stress over this. I doubt if that's going to be a secret desire for anyone, is to, to have sleepless, anxious nights. So, if you're trying to avoid that, again, deal with the ending, deal with the judgment, deal with, that this thing is coming to an end. You're about to be able to really start looking towards the future again with the next thing that's coming up for you. But, you're going to have to just manage these things that you're learning, and make these choices and buckle down, get to work, and wrap it up. In your outcome position is the Four of Swords. So, you go from the sleepless night, or this fear of the sleepless night, into kind of rest and meditation, with the four. And our fours are about, being very balanced by the end of this whole cycle. Is that, the fours are, think of the fours like a table, the stability of four legs on a table. If you have three, and it's a little bit wobbly, but four is nice, stability, rest, relaxation. So the message to me is that you're going to get through this week, and you're going to get through it and end up in a calm place where you're not going to have these sleepless nights. You may have a couple during this cycle this week while you're going through this, but in the end, you end up in a place where you're very restful, and happy that things did get taken care of with the work and everything that you've done to put an end to it. What is hidden from you this week is the Queen of Swords. So, I see the Queen of Swords sometimes as someone that's very direct with their messaging, with their word. This is having an understanding of intellect and also the spoken word, and how to be sharp when needed. And that's kind of hidden from you this week, where you're coming out of this Empress energy, where I feel like, the Empress, if she's giving you advice, it's really done in a loving, soft manner. If you ask the Queen of Swords for advice, she's just going to be a little bit more harsh. So that's kind of hidden from you, and that could be your energy, that you're not as sharp with your words maybe this week as you work through this. I mean, we've got a lot of cups going on, so a lot of this is intellectual in the way of thought, but maybe not so much in the way of speaking. It's like those thoughts are there, but you're dealing with things that are definitely emotional as well. So let's get a final message here from the Soul Oracle deck. So getting to the end of this cycle, Aries, which again, I do feel like by the end of the week, you're there. Just kind of push through. I'm not even getting a big message here on what area of your life. So, of course, tarot is a template. This could be different areas for different Aries out there. So some of this could be something dealing with your family life, or your love life, or your work life. So just wherever that applies, again, take what resonates. If it's speaking to you, you know exactly the area of your life that this is going on in. So, and if you're comfortable leaving a comment and this does resonate, let me know which area of your life it does resonate with. And it would be interesting to see the different replies from different Aries on how that works, right? So if you're comfortable doing that, certainly please drop a message down below. All right, final message here for Aries. The end of this tough cycle. Don't push the envelope as the first card. I'm going to grab another one here. Revive the dormant. So, yeah, I think you're just kind of getting through this week. Doesn't even feel rapid. It feels like things are wrapping up, but it's almost like in a slow manner. Like you're going to make you have a lot of choices to make. You're going to make them. This is coming to an end. You get to this mental judgment thing. You're thinking about the future, but not a whole lot. Trying to avoid just being, maybe the anxiety of just wrapping something up. But, again, don't push the envelope. Um, which means just you're going to work through it. Just focus in and work through it so that you can get to a place of peace by the end of the week. And, reviving the dormant could have something here to do with, again, this childhood, this reminiscing about something. And again, if this was some sort of predicament that you had to deal with, and I used again money as an example, but maybe it's relationships, and maybe it's you realize that you deal with relationships in a particular way based on your childhood. So if you're reviving the dormant, it's those things that were sleeping dogs that you're kind of poking at a little bit to just get yourself in a better place in the future. So Aries, I wish you the best of luck, excuse me, with this reading. Again, if you're comfortable, drop me a comment down below. Let me know if this resonated with you, or in what area of your life it did resonate. Also, I do readings weekly, so come back next week and we'll see if this energy continues or if there's a completely new energy here for you. Also, if you like my reading style, of course, please hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps my channel, and most importantly, it'll help you find me next week. So thanks so much. We'll see you next time, Aries. Bye bye.